Well, hello. Welcome to a special Once Upon a Turkey Leg. It is Christmas Eve. I am Dean the Turkey Legster. I hope you are having a gobbletastic, gobbletastic um, Christmas Eve, or whenever you're watching this. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching. I did go live Christmas Eve. You're probably wondering, why did he go live on Christmas Eve? It's because I had the perfect story that I wanted to read because it's just a Christmas Eve kind of a story. I am reading this story, and I have been excited for this for a couple of weeks since I planned it. And so I'm going to wait a minute, see if anyone will pop in the live chat this evening. I don't anticipate that anyone, if many, will. It is Christmas Eve. I know there's at least one other live stream going, and there's a lot of other, things people can be doing. So, yes, I will just wait a few more minutes. So far, I've had a great Christmas celebration with family. We had a family meal here, a little bit of a party at my brother's house. I went for a little drive to look at Christmas lights around the neighborhood that I used to live in, that I grew up. I lived in that neighborhood until I was 16 or 17, at least. And then we moved. But I drove past the house that we lived in years ago until 1999, actually. And it's very nicely done. The people who live there now are very good Christmas light putter-uppers. They've got very pretty, it was like mostly all white lights, some like red type decorations. I think one decoration was like a Snoopy decoration. So anyway, I usually do it I usually drive around neighborhoods at least twice a Christmas season, but tonight was the first time that I'd done it this year. So I might have to go do another little drive tomorrow night, just to make sure I see, everyone who's got lights up. People might start taking down their Christmas lights, right after Christmas Day. I'm sure there's some people that do. The majority of people, from what I can notice or remember, I think they keep them up probably through like Christmas Eve or Christmas, or not, New Year's Day. New Year's Day. But anyway, we are going to now read The Polar Express, and this is a brand new book for me. I have loved the movie for a few years, but this is my first time. I just got the book a few weeks ago, and I actually have not read the actual story, so I don't know if the movie and the story differs. But without any further ado, on this Christmas Eve, of 2021, let us read the Polar Express. So here we go. Let me move my microphone over here. No, let's move it over here. I'm going to move it over here. All right, I think that'll be good. You'll be able to hear me, and I'll be able to show you the pictures in the Polar Express. So here we go. The Polar Express, written and illustrated by Chris Van Allsburg. Here's the first picture. And this is not working for the microphone. Okay, here we go. There it is. On Christmas Eve, excuse me, on Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear. The ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. All aboard! The conductor cried. I ran up to him. Well, he said, are you coming? Where? I asked. Why, to the North Pole, of course, was his answer. This is the Polar Express. I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. Hi, Brian. Welcome in. As long as you can stay. I understand it is Christmas Eve. Here's the next page. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers and white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights on a strange ocean liner.
Here's a matching YouTube result.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, folks. I seem to have triggered my Google lady. Okay, let's get back to this. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. There, said the conductor, is the North Pole. The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. They are gathering at the center of the city, the conductor told us. That is where Santa will give us the first gift of Christmas. Who receives the first gift? We all asked. The conductor answered, he will choose one of you. Hi, Dave. Welcome in. Merry Christmas Eve. This is a big book. It's hard to tell if the picture is showing up. There we go. I guess I'll just do that. Look, shouted one of the children. The elves. Outside we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. There's the North Pole. Ooh. All the elves. All the elves. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointed to me and said, and pointing to me, said, Let's have this fellow here. He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the one thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood, holding the bell high above him, and called out, "The first gift of Christmas." Welcome, Mike. Merry Christmas. This is the Polar Express, and Santa is giving out the first gift of Christmas. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. Ooh, sorry about that. I just bumped my mic. Welcome in, Pearl. Welcome. Merry Christmas Eve as I try to make sure that I am showing the page. This is a huge book. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. And there is. They lost the bell. They lost the bell. And once again, I need to move my microphone over here. We'll try that. Okay. There we go. That's a little better. Peek-boo. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe. And that's the end of the Polar Express. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story. Um, I probably should have worn my headset with the mic on the headset so that instead of this one here, this mic here, but I think I would have been able to maneuver the book a little better. This is a big book, a lot bigger, a little bigger than I'm. It's kind of, I don't know. Anyway, I enjoyed reading that book to you. I love the Polar Express movie. I think I'm going to watch that again probably tomorrow afternoon. Oh, it still sounded good, Mike? Okay, thank you. It's kind of awkward trying to show the book, the book with the mic here. But anyway, yes, Pearl, I specifically decided to do this live tonight because of Polar Express. If there had been any other story, I would have said not on Christmas Eve. But anyway, thank you all for coming in. I hope that you have a gobbletastic and wonderful Christmas. The rest of your Christmas Eve. Pearl, I know you are like 3 hours behind me over there on the Pacific coast. And I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas Day tomorrow and Christmas weekend. I will be back live on Monday and then Thursday next week with more Christmas stories. Christmas is not over yet. 2 more Christmas stories coming on Monday and Thursday night next week at 10:30 Eastern Time each day of those days. So I hope to see you all in the chat. If not, there will always be the replay. So again, have a very Merry Christmas. Take care. And I'll see you later. have a holly jolly Christmas. And